Part 4. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 31. Coward. A look of contempt appeared on Hua Yu's delicate face. She just pointed at the following casually. After seeing that it was an Earth-level fire demon, she felt a little regretful and prepared to find another target. But what she didn't expect was that Yejing actually set the target so low. Isn't the white 50 scale the 5th level of human transformation? I killed one very easily just now, why would I choose one of this level? She thought that since she could instantly kill the white 50 level fire demon, there would be no risk in going up 2 more levels, right? Fortunately, Yejing didn't know what Hua Yu was thinking, otherwise he would have shouted, "Girl, you are so swollen." Hua Yu is a creature of water and fire, and can challenge through levels. Although Yejing is at a low level, he can become more courageous with sorrow of war, but this does not mean that he is invincible. Hua Yu swelled, but Yejing did not. Seeing Hua Yu's disdain, he couldn't help but have a dark look on his face. Did you know that it was easy for us to attack by sneak attack just now? How could it have been possible if it hadn't been for the unknown hero who resisted the front for us? It's so easy to break the crystal core. Hua Yu said calmly, then let's look for an unknown hero. I'm really not afraid of the unknown heroes coming back to find fault with you. They are fighting hard, and we are sneaking up behind to pick up the leaks. What kind of thing is this? Yejing I refused categorically, no. Don't look for unsung heroes who are too strong. Etc. Just when Yejing was already looking for the unknown hero, Hua Yu suddenly stopped him. What's wrong? Yejing asked. Look over there. Hua Yu's crystal clear eyes of different colors were shining with light, and she was staring ahead with all her concentration. Her white jade-like fingers stretched out, pointed in one direction, and motioned to Yejing. Yejing was confused. Could it be that he had found his target? Why such an expression? With doubts, Yejing set his sights in that direction and was stunned for a moment. According to the plan, the deputy city lord of Changjiao stopped the second commander, and An Nangxing and Lao Jiao killed the 5th commander as soon as possible, and then killed the second commander together. The powerful people in the Destiny realm have extremely powerful fighting power, huge destructive power, and a wide range of effects, so when the melee begins, they disappear and disperse into the empty area. There are only a few minions fighting in the entire visible range. To be honest, the gap between the underground palace realm and the Destiny realm is as big as the sky. As long as one of the heaven-level warriors wins, the entire earth-level sky of Lee Sin can be quickly cleared. Therefore, although the heaven-level experts are no longer within sight, every move they make involves hundreds of lives on both sides. And now, the heaven-level strongman who was not supposed to appear in the center of the battlefield actually came back. This area has become ruins, the trees have been cleared and felled, the green grass has turned to ashes, and the originally flat ground is extremely steep, with one shallow pit connected to another. In this wide field of view, Yejing and Hua Yu could clearly see the figures of the deputy city lord and second commander of Changjiao, hundreds of meters away. They were actually fighting at such a close distance. What's going on? You called back in just a few minutes, Yejing said with a frown. He saw with his own eyes the deputy city lord of Changjiao dragging the second commander far away. Unexpectedly, he came back just a while later. Why do you care so much? The battle is changing rapidly, who can control it? Hua Yu said. Yejing sneered and said nothing. Women can change their attitudes very quickly. 1 second, they were dragging me to pick up corpses, and the next second, they asked me to watch others fight. How vulgar. Then he leaned next to Hua Yu and sat on the branch. The battle between the peaks of the Destiny realm was not going to be seen in vain. As long as you stay far away, it shouldn't be a problem, right? However, he was not as defenseless as Hua Yu. Instead, he was distracted and alert to his surroundings. It would be too bad if the boat capsized. The second commander and the deputy city lord of Changjiao were both close combat types. They did not have weapons, or in other words, they had not reached the point of drawing weapons yet. Fights between men, fists against fists, palms against palms, flesh against flesh, fierce battles dripping with sweat. There was no one around them, and everyone was far away. Except for the old professor, Anand Star, and the 5 commanders, no one could withstand the aftermath of the battle between the peaks of the heaven level. In the battle between the second commander and the deputy city lord of Changjiao, every attack was accompanied by a huge strong wind, mixed with majestic flames. Even from a few hundred meters away, Yejing could feel the heat. Under the feet of the deputy city lord of Changjiao, a shallow pit appears every time he moves. This is not intentional, it is just the weight brought by the body strengthened by spiritual energy. The same was true for the second commander. Within a few minutes, the two of them actually trampled hundreds of meters under their feet and trapped them by more than 10 centimeters. The concave hundreds of meters of flat land and the protruding hundreds of meters of flat land form a sharp contrast. So strong. These are the 2 words that everyone present is thinking about. The nearby humans have stopped, and the intelligent fire demons above the ground have also stopped. They all know that they are not the protagonist of this battle. Whichever side of the protagonist survives, which side will survive? Can't see clearly, Yejing murmured, his eyes widened, but he couldn't see anything clearly. He could only vaguely see 2 figures intersecting, constantly intersecting. The speed was too fast, every time it can even leave phantoms in between. With each collision, the space trembled slightly, as if it would be broken if not careful. What should I do if I can't see clearly? Huayu looked distressed. She wanted to take the opportunity to learn, but she couldn't see anything clearly. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. How about we stand forward? Yejing shook his head. No, our realm is too low, it will be dangerous to stand forward. Girl, the one who leaned forward before has turned to ashes, do you want to turn to ashes too? That's right, Huayu sighed, I can't see clearly even if I lean forward. Their speed is far beyond the capture speed of our retina. Yejing once again put his eyes on the deputy city lord of Changjiao and the second commander, and suddenly froze. It seems something is wrong. Huayu asked in confusion, what's wrong? Look at the ground. Yejing pointed to their feet. Their battle is not fixed, but has been moving. It seems that the second commander is retreating in a certain direction, and the deputy city lord of Changjiao has been following its rhythm. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 32. From a distance, you can clearly see the battle trajectory of the second commander and the deputy city lord of Changjiao. With their footsteps, every time they move a position collapses, and the moving shallow pits are connected to form a path. Huayu heard Yejing's reminder and also discovered this problem, but she didn't take it seriously. In the battle between their levels, who can completely control the situation? It is not necessarily like what you said, that the deputy city lord of Changjiao was led by the second commander. How can the audience say for sure about the things in the battle? Yejing just felt something was wrong. 2 figures collided and collided, one burning with violent flames, and the other as calm as a sinking mountain. The speed was getting faster and faster. The phantom under the action became more condensed as the speed increased, as if it were a real body. Just when everyone was dazzled, a deafening sound broke out between the second commander and the deputy city lord of Changjiao. The huge sound was as noisy as a comet hitting the ground, and the strong impact generated quickly spread from the center to the surroundings. The people who were close to them were shocked and could not dodge in time. Those with higher strength were knocked over, their blood and chi surged, and their energy was unstable. Those with lower strength were miserable. Their whole bodies could not withstand the intensity of the impact and were torn into pieces. The aftermath was shaking. Yejing and Huayu were not feeling well either. Their faces were pale, their spiritual energy was turbulent, their blood and chi kept surging in their bodies, and they were in a mess. Their brains were blank and their ears were buzzing. It took them a long time to recover. At the same time, they showed a look of relief in their eyes. Fortunately, they were far away and the impact was not serious. If they were 100 meters ahead, they would have died. Yejing looked at the energy vortex that appeared in the center with a shocked face, and couldn't help muttering, "What happened?" At the battle site, an energy vortex that distorted the space was formed, covering an area of nearly 10 meters, wrapping the deputy city lord of Changjiao and the second commander. Outsiders didn't know what happened. I don't know. Hua Yu's pretty face was pale, and there was a trace of fear in her beautiful pupils. Obviously, she was also scared. The energy vortex gradually dissipated, revealing a scene that shocked everyone present. A big pit suddenly appeared on the ground. The pit was nearly 10 meters long and wide, and several meters deep. On the left and right edges, the second commander and the deputy city lord of Changjiao stood on each side. In the violent explosion just now, there were no scars on the two people, but their clothes were a little messy. Although they were not injured, they were not as relaxed as they imagined. The deputy city lord of Changjiao had a disordered breath, and his chest was slightly up and down. It was obvious that he had suffered some internal injuries, but he didn't show it. And the flame that the second commander had originally stored in his body was also released, as if it had resisted some damage for it, and the fire was weak. But these were not what surprised everyone. What surprised them the most was the two actually took out their weapons. In other words, the previous warm-up battle was over. The next moment was to decide life and death. The deputy city lord Changjiao was holding a black sword, which emitted a faint golden glow. From the tip of the sword to the hilt, a golden thread could be clearly seen. This was a pure black gold sword. A black gold sword made entirely of rare metals. In the entire Lonely City, there was only one person who used the black gold sword, and that was Li Ke, the son of the city lord of Lonely City. However, Li Ke's black gold sword was only mixed with a little black gold when it was refined, and the mixing degree was less than 10%. It was because of the mixing of a little black gold that the sword in Li Ke's hand became the best sword in Lonely City. But it's different now. The black gold sword in the hands of the deputy city lord Changjiao was actually made of pure black gold. Tens of thousands of spirit stones per gram of black gold were used to forge a sword. There were only two words to describe it: tyrant. The second commander's weapon was also extraordinary. Its weapon was an arm guard. It was not right to say it was an arm guard, but it was put on the entire arm of its right hand. The arm guard was deep red, and a crystal clear ruby was inlaid on the fist. The core of the ruby was flashing with violent energy. I saw precious fire marrow mixed in the armor of the fifth commander before, and that fire marrow was extracted from this ruby. This ruby is the mother of crystal marrow. There are only a few mothers of crystal marrow in a whole vein. The deputy city lord Changjiao said lightly, "It's almost done, right?" The second commander glanced at a certain place and replied, "It's time to end it." The conversation between the two was not hidden from others, and spread throughout the area, making the onlookers in the distance confused, but also trembling with fear. What's going on? Is it going to end? Didn't the Li Xingtian curtain only open for more than 10 minutes? How could it end? You idiot! How did it end? Of course it was because of the big move. Why are you still standing there? Retreat. Do you want to die? All of a sudden, people retreated in a hurry, retreating several hundred meters in one breath, fearing that they would be hit by the aftermath again. While retreating, they also freed up one hand to clear all the obstacles behind them. They didn't want to be blocked by these trees. Let's retreat too, Yejing said. Hua Yu nodded. The two also retreated a distance. They didn't have strong physiques and couldn't withstand the impact. After retreating to a safe area, Yejing suddenly froze, because behind him was the edge of the Li Xingtian curtain. Behind them, a sky-high white curtain blocked their way back, and they could no longer retreat. In order to see the decisive battle between the deputy city lord of Changjiao and the second commander, everyone cut down all the obstructions in this area, and exposed everyone's body positions. "Aren't they Wang Hao and Anjing over there?" Yejing pointed in a direction and frowned. Hua Yu looked over, was slightly stunned, and then asked, "Why are they in this place?" She remembered that when the melee started, Wang Hao and Anjing were taken to a safe place by the old professor, who knew that they would appear here. Not only that, Yejing shook his head and looked solemnly in another direction. "Chief Anfa and the old professor are also here." A kilometer away from them, they could clearly see the figures of An Nangxing and the old professor besieging the fifth commander. And in the distance opposite them, the fire demons also gathered together, occupying one direction. Now, for some reason, all the people in the huge Lixing sky curtain have gathered together. Is this a coincidence? Yejing had a bad feeling, and his face became increasingly heavy. For some reason, 4 words suddenly appeared in his mind. Catch them all in one fell swoop. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 33. For some reason, an idiom suddenly popped up in Yejing's mind. Catch them all in one net. Oh my god. Yejing trembled all over and jumped up, scaring Hua Yu next to him, who thought he was attacked by someone. Stay away. Yes. Stay away. Yejing suddenly stood up, grabbed Hua Yu's hand, and said solemnly, "Let's go." Go now. Hua Yu was stunned. Why go? Where to go? The more Yejing thought about it, the more wrong it was. He was a person who had read many novels. In the plot, all the people on one side were gathered together. What's next? Of course it's a group annihilation. A nuclear bomb came down, not everyone would die. Who can survive alone? Although nothing has been exposed yet, he dare not joke with his life. Even if there is only a slight possibility, he will not gamble. Because if you lose the bet, the price you pay is your life. Not knowing what the fire demon was planning, Yejing hurriedly said, "We won't get involved. It's too dangerous. I think it's better to hide somewhere else." Hua Yu frowned. "What are you talking about? Wasn't it fine just now? Why did you suddenly stop looking?" Yejing stretched out a hand, drew a circle, and pointed around. "Look, they are all gathered together. The heavenly rank experts who shouldn't be here are also approaching. Do you think this could be a coincidence?" Hua Yu was slightly stunned. She was not a fool. She just thought about it and understood what Yejing meant. She glanced around and her face suddenly became ugly. She whispered, "Is there a trap nearby?" Hua Yu's voice was very low, and the two of them could hear it. Yejing shook his head. "I don't know either, it's just a guess, but even if it's a guess, we shouldn't stay any longer." Hua Yu hesitated. "What about the others? Don't you notify them?" Yejing asked back, "Notify what? Do you think they will believe our guess? Besides, if we retreat on a large scale and let the fire demon find out, won't we be doomed?" If possible, without putting himself in danger, he would definitely notify the others. But now it's not possible. He and Hua Yu are nearby. If something unexpected happens and the fire demon's plan is implemented ahead of time, then wouldn't he be unable to leave even if he wants to? In front of a group of strangers, his and Hua Yu's lives are the most important. Hua Yu bit her lip. Although it was just a guess, what if? She is not alone, she has a mother, she dare not gamble. In an instant, she made up her mind. let's go. Let's take Anjing and Wang Hao away. It's too dangerous to keep them here. Yes, Ye Jing nodded, and the two moved towards the direction of Wang Hao and Anjing. In order not to attract the attention of others or the fire demon, the two did not even dare to run. Fortunately, it was only a few hundred meters away and they arrived in a moment. They thought they had time, but it was a pity. After the deputy city lord of Changjiao and the second commander took out their weapons and said a word, it was too late. In the center of the battlefield, the energy of the two protagonists continued to gather, solidify and compress, as if to gather all the spiritual energy in the entire Lixing sky curtain together. Changtian sword technique. The low voice of the deputy city lord of Changjiao echoed throughout the Lixing sky curtain. As soon as he spoke, the spiritual energy around him gathered on the pure black gold sword in his hand, and a golden light that could illuminate the darkness was flashing and flashing continuously. Every time it flashed, the sword light grew a point longer, and every time it flashed, the power became a point stronger. The second commander's face became more and more solemn. The flames that were originally a little wilted suddenly shot up into the sky. The flames like a volcanic eruption and the sun bursting surrounded the second commander. Changtian sword technique was created by the head of Changtian group, the most powerful person in the supernatural world. It belongs to the supernatural sword technique. Although it is a supernatural sword technique, it can be bought online. The first style can be bought online. For example, Li Kei's Changtian sword technique was bought online. The entire Changtian sword technique has 13 styles. After learning all of them, it can be regarded as a real supernatural sword technique. And now, the deputy city lord of Changjiao is using the 9 styles of Changtian sword technique. After the 9 flashes of golden light, the sword light is 9 points longer. The power is stronger. Instantly, the deputy city lord of Changjiao is full of momentum and pressures Li Xingtian Mu. A line of long sky. The cold and ruthless voice suppressed everything. As the deputy city lord of Changjiao swung his sword, golden light flashed. The world is separated. Even half of the sun in the sky seemed to be eclipsed. A thin golden sword energy came out with the sword of the deputy city lord of Changjiao. It was as fast as lightning and as powerful as a gust of wind. In the blink of an eye, it was swung in front of the second commander, as if to cut it off from the middle. The second commander had a gloomy face and was on fire. He did not dare to slack off. He crossed the crystal marrow mother arm guard on his right hand across his chest and directly resisted the sword. The power of Changtian Yuxian is unimaginable. Even the arm guard with endless energy provided by the crystal marrow mother cannot be offset immediately. Under the pressure of Changtian Yuxian, the second commander slowly stepped back. Suddenly, I don't know why. As if being blown away by something, the whole body suddenly flew out. Then the impact force given by Changtian Yuxian swept in the air at a very fast speed, so fast that many people could not react. And the place he flew to was exactly where Anjing, the daughter of Anan Xing, was. In an instant, Ye Jing's face changed drastically, his eyes were sharp, so that's it? A line emerged in Ye Jing's mind, that is, to use Anjing to control An Nangxing. The second commander must not succeed. Otherwise, it will be dangerous. He was about to run towards Anjing, but his feet stopped. He himself did not understand why he stopped. But at the moment he stopped, a figure flashed by. Hua Yu looked ugly and rushed straight. The distance of just a few hundred meters, in the blink of an eye, was like the farthest distance in the world, unreachable. It was too late. How could the speed of the two of them be faster than the second commander? Impossible. Hua Yu's footsteps just ran past, and the second commander was already 10 meters in front of Anjing. At some point, its originally gloomy face retreated, replaced by a smile. The second commander waved the arm guard with the crystal core mother marrow and punched Anjing. All this, from the second commander flying towards Anjing, happened in an instant. And Jing and Wang Hao beside her were all standing there stupidly, their legs and feet seemed to be glued with super glue and they couldn't run away, and they couldn't run away at all. Just when An Jing was about to die, a figure fell from the sky. And Nangxing's eyes were red, and his dark eyes were full of madness. He held the cold spear in front of his chest, and the spiritual energy in his body burst out and surged like crazy. "You son of a bitch! How dare you do this?" Late Night Author asks for collection and recommendation. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 34. Jing Jing was dumbfounded, froze on the spot, at a loss. Her eyes were as still as a dead person, her brain was in chaos, and she had no thoughts at all. What happened? A second ago, she raised her head and looked at her father's figure with admiration, as if she was looking at an invincible hero. The next second, a bloody arm appeared in front of her eyes, the arm that passed through Anangxing's chest. So close, she could even see that the arm was mixed with beating internal organ fragments. Immediately afterwards, my father collapsed. Dad. Jing Jing's face was dull, his eyes were blankly looking at An Nangxing who fell on the ground, and he shouted softly, his tone full of doubts and disbelief. She stretched out her hand, touched An Nangxing's shoulder, and shook it gently. Didn't move. Yelled softly. Didn't move. She still kept shaking An Nangxing's body and shouting. Wang Hao on the side was at a loss and didn't know what to do. He looked at Quiet, who was covered in blood and his eyes were lifeless. He opened his mouth slightly, wanting to comfort him, but nothing could be said. Everything was stuck in his throat. And finally turned into silence. And anger at yourself for doing nothing, Hua Yu quietly came over, bent down, knelt on one knee on the ground, gently supported An Jing, her eyes full of sadness, An Jing. She didn't know what it felt like to have her most important relative die in front of her, despair. Powerless. Still sad, it doesn't matter anymore. She took out a handkerchief and slowly brushed it over An Jing's young face, wiping the blood on her face. And An Jing was like a puppet on a string, letting Hua Yu play with it. She just shook her father's body again and again, as if she wanted to wake her up. Do not accept or acknowledge this fact. Ye Jing also walked over lightly, looking at An Nangxing's body in silence, clenching his fists in his hands, and then loosening them weakly. He looked at An Jing who seemed to be stupid and couldn't bear it. He said to Hua Yu, take An Jing and leave here first. Her state is very wrong. Not only Ye Jing saw it, but Hua Yu also saw it. She was also very sad. Sadness is contagious. Let's get out of here first, okay, Hua Yu said softly, her voice very soft, not wanting to irritate Quiet's nerves. Jing Jing turned his head mechanically and looked at Hua Yu with a dull expression. Leave? Leave for what? Hua Yu said worriedly, it's very dangerous here. There must be some conspiracy on the fire demon's side. Let's leave here first, okay. Fire demon, Jing Jing murmured in a low voice. She looked at her father's body and saw the cold gun next to his body. She murmured, I won't leave, I want revenge. Yes, revenge. Reaching out, Jing Jing stretched out a blood-stained hand and grabbed the broken cold gun. Kill him. Kill him. I'm going to kill him. These three words kept impacting Quiet's brain, occupying the entire thought in her brain. Kill him, kill him. Kill the second commander and avenge his father. Her hand caught the cold gun, but she couldn't pick it up. It was Anand Star's weapon. How could she, a practitioner who had just entered the country, be able to pick it up? Hua Yu hurriedly stopped her and held Jing Jing in her arms. Let's go first, okay. Let's leave here first, and we'll talk about revenge later. Don't want. Jing Jing screamed, the tearing voice was filled with the aura of collapse. She knew clearly that she would never be able to take revenge in this life. She killed the second commander of Tianhuo City on Annan Star, a 9th level existence in the heaven realm, and she herself, well, the second level of human transformation is so different. Can't leave. 2 lines of sad tears ran down her quiet face, and she murmured in a low voice. She took out a delicate knife from her storage bracelet. This was a fruit knife. She often brought some fruits to the class, and then she set it on the old professor's podium. I cut it up and gave it to the classmates. In the end, the podium was stained with juice, and I was taught a lesson by the old professor. She held the fruit knife with trembling hands. Not only her hands but also her legs were shaking. Her legs were shaking badly, but she still stood up with difficulty. Kill him, I want to kill him. Jing Jing looked at the second commander leaving in the distance, her eyes filled with hatred, her original weak aura quietly dissipated, and the undried blood on her face accompanied her expression at this moment, showing a look of madness. Subsequently, then he was knocked unconscious by Yejing. Yejing hit the back of Anjing's neck with a knife, knocking her unconscious. He put her in Huayu's arms, rolled his eyes and said, "She is already crazy at this time. Why are you still listening to her talking so much? Just hit her, take it away." But. Huayu looked at the fainted Anqing in her arms with a troubled face, feeling at a loss. "There's nothing more to worry about," Yejing commanded decisively, "you take Anjing with you. Wang Hao, put Uncle An's body on your back to prevent Anjing from blaming us when he wakes up." Yejing glanced at the unconscious Anjing and sighed secretly. He knew that the soft and timid Anjing, who had a smile on his face every day and was uncontested with the world, could no longer appear. Although the two of them didn't have a close friendship, they still felt sorry for her. The second commander had returned to the fifth commander and his subordinates at this time, and said calmly, "My mission has been completed, it is your turn." The fifth commander held his 2 axes tightly, with a look of struggle on his face. "Does it have to be like this? Haven't we already killed in Nanxing, a serious enemy? We can wait until the time for Li Xing's sky is up before retreating." The second commander said coldly, "Wait? Wait for the reinforcements from Gukhan to arrive? Wait for Chang Jiao to come over and kill us? I resisted Chang Jiao's blow, and I am no longer qualified to fight him." The palm of Chang Jiao, deputy city lord, was a real attack on him, and he was still suppressing the injury. But the fifth commander was still unwilling to give in. "There's nothing more to worry about," the second commander interrupted directly and said coldly, "Have you forgotten the city lord's order? Go to the human side and blow yourself up, blowing up the Li Xing sky to help us get out. Now all the enemies have gathered around Li Xing Tianmuo, and Annan Xing is dead. The plan is going very smoothly. Do you want the plan to fail because of your cowardice?" The second commander sternly reprimanded, and the pressure on his body unconsciously felt like the pressure of the fifth commander. In his eyes, the fifth commander was already part of the plan, and he would not allow the plan to fail. The fifth commander looked at the dozen or so subordinates who were faintly gathering towards him, as well as the second commander in front of him who was threatening him, and gritted his teeth, "I obey." After saying that, he went straight towards Li Xing's sky. His mission is to use self-destruction to open the sky of Li Star after the second commander completes his mission, destroy all enemies, and safely send away the people of Skyfire City. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 35. The alien races are not as long-standing as humans. They don't even have a history. It has only been 100 years since the solar system was broken and the alien races were formed. These 100 years are just a drop in the ocean in the long river of time. The alien races have no rules, no laws, no constraints. They only recognize strength. The weak obey the strong, and the strong obey the stronger. This is their rule. For example, the Sea Kings far away from the Blue Star are the top existences among the alien races. In addition to their own tribes, they also enslave the water tribes, open up wasteland, invade, and collect resources. All of these are done by the water tribes, and then taught to their Sea Kings. And in the Fire Demon, it is the same. The fifth commander cannot resist the second commander. Either obey the order and die with disdainful honor, or refuse the order and be directly surrounded and killed. Two roads, no matter which road, the 5 commanders will die. This is destined in Tianhuo City. The fifth commander looked at the cold-faced second commander, and couldn't help feeling angry, but he had no choice but to obey the order and then die. The fifth commander took off his fire marrow armor and threw his double axes to the ground. These were exchanged from the Tianhuo city's inner storehouse with his military merits. They had accompanied him in battle for many years and he was reluctant to let them fall into the hands of humans. Without the armor covering his body, the fifth commander's strong muscles like rocks were exposed. He looked at the second commander unwillingly, then turned around and ran towards the edge of the Lixing Sky Curtain, the gathering place of humans, at a very fast speed, like a flash of lightning, with sparks mixed on his figure. The second commander looked coldly at the fifth commander who was going to die, and said lightly, "Everyone get ready." After the fifth commander blows up the Lixing Sky Curtain, rush out directly and return to Tianhuo City. On the other side, after Ye Jing handed the unconscious Jing to Huayu, he helped the stupid Wang Hao up, thinking that this man was really madly testing the edge of death. Wherever there is danger, there you can see Wang Hao. Selling fake medicine to classmates, being stripped naked and tied to a tree by gangsters, and almost being smashed to death by the second commander. The more Ye Jing thought about it, the more amazing it was. He couldn't help but look at Wang Hao more. He was on the verge of death twice in one day. How did you survive these 18 years? It was also fortunate that Wang Hao didn't know what Ye Jing was thinking, otherwise he would definitely say, "I didn't do anything." Wang Hao was also the one who saw An Nangxing's death, especially the scene when An Nangxing sprayed An Jing's face with blood, which was even more exaggerated. He was scared so much that his face turned pale and his lips trembled. Later, he recovered and looked at An Jing who was miserable beside him. He couldn't help but want to comfort him, but he couldn't say anything. He could only lie on the ground and remain silent. When Ye Jing helped him up, he suddenly said, "Am I particularly useless?" Ye Jing was slightly stunned. Looking at Wang Hao's face full of bitterness and sadness, he didn't have the heart to lie to him, and said truthfully, "It's very useless." He saw Wang Hao's clenched fist, angry but powerless. Isn't this also himself? I want to change, but I don't have the strength. After all, I am just a nobody. Ye Jing sighed, took out a bottle of life potion from the storage bracelet, and stuffed it into Wang Hao's hand. "Drink this first." Wang Hao didn't hesitate to drink it, and then threw the bottle to the ground. Refined medicine is really not as useful as practice. That's right, Ye Jing also admitted that as long as you have the strength, what can't you get? You have to give up the main thing and pursue the trivial. If you don't practice to refine medicine, you will eventually become someone else's wife. Just as the 4 of them were retreating to other places with different thoughts in their minds, the old professor suddenly rushed over from a distance and shouted in fear, "Everyone disperse. The 5th leader of the fire demon is going to self-destruct." What? Self-destruction? How is it possible? That's the 5th leader of Tianhuo City. His mother. Look. What the hell? Run. The crowd gathered around didn't believe it at first, and then they immediately felt a violent and uneasy energy surging. They stared and saw that the 5th leader was burning like a sun and running towards them. They had to believe it. In an instant, one group of people after another used all their life strength to flee in all directions, wishing they had 2 more legs to run. That was the self-destruction of a high-level fire demon of the heavenly rank. This was no joke. Its power was comparable to that of the extraordinary, and the killing range was wide and the impact was huge. They ran as far as they could, not daring to have a fluke mentality. After all, a big boss is risking his life, and you can't say anything if you drag you down with him. Ye Jing naturally saw the fifth commander running towards the side. Even he, a small follower of the second level of the transformation realm, could clearly feel that the violent energy could not be suppressed. His heart sank as if a mountain was pressing down on him. He turned his head stiffly and looked at Wang Hao, who looked ashen. "Are you dead?" Wang Hao cried loudly, "I didn't do anything." At this time, a figure flew down. The old professor glanced at them with a dark face. He didn't have time to speak. He waved his big hand and grabbed Wang Hao and Ye Jing like a chicken, clamped them under his right armpit, and grabbed Hua Yu and Anjing and clamped them under his left armpit. Then he picked up An Nangxing's body with his foot and put it on his back. He rushed out with a whoosh. The second after the old professor rushed out, the fifth commander had already arrived under the Lixing sky curtain. He didn't care about the humans who were fleeing in all directions. His first task was to blow up the Lixing sky curtain and send the second commander out. Boom! The fifth commander blew himself up. The explosion resounded through the sky. An energy storm covering hundreds of meters suddenly appeared in the sky, sweeping across the entire Lixing sky. As if a nuclear bomb exploded and the gods destroyed the world, huge energy exploded instantly, from one point, to the surroundings. The first to suffer were those who were close to the transformation realm. They ran slowly, and before they ran a few hundred meters, they were hit by the self-explosion energy and turned into ashes in an instant. No one dared to resist the energy of the fifth commander's self-explosion in Lixing sky. The second commander did not dare, and the deputy city lord of Changjiao was the same, let alone others. All people, whether they were in the transformation realm or the underground palace realm, were all covered by this energy that destroyed everything, and there was no trace left, not even a slag. The old professor, holding 4 people and carrying a corpse, could not run far before being caught up by the annihilation storm behind him. He was determined in his heart, and a trace of determination flashed in his turbid eyes. Just as he was about to reach out and throw Ye Jing and the other 4 into the distance, something unexpected happened. Ye Jing was sandwiched by the old professor, his face facing the back, his pupils reflected the fire. That was enough to destroy him 10,000 times, that was energy he could not match. Then, he stood up. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bouletin G. Bayet. Chapter 36. Today, there were too many things that made Ye Jing dizzy and confused. He originally just wanted to stay at the edge of the Black Forest and kill monsters to get some spirit stones and flowers, and complete the task of the Pioneer Guild. This was his original plan. Then what? It all went wrong. The fire demon killed 3 people from beginning to end, and the other 2 were killed in cooperation with Hua Yu, and the reward had to be shared with her. What about the others? He was stopped by 3 hooligans, went to rescue Wang Hao, ran to Hua Yu again, got lost and ran into a big white curtain, and then entered the place where the boss was meeting. In fact, this is nothing, just follow the main force, watch the edge, and save your life. Then what? They are all acting schools. And Nangxing was killed. The main force is full of traps. What the hell? A 5th commander of Tianhuo City put down his status and blew himself up? Who can stand this? What can I do? Run, what can I run with? It's embarrassing to be held by the old professor like a chicken, and I can't run away at all. What can I do? Ye Jing only remembered at this time, why am I running away? He ran around in a daze for several places, and didn't use his skills much, and he forgot everything. At this life and death crisis, he remembered that I have a trump card. Battle of Sorrow. When attacked by a fatal injury, there is a 100% chance of immunity to the attack and gain the Battle of Sorrow state, with a 100% increase in strength, 100% increase in destructive power, 100% increase in speed, and a 30% blood-sucking effect when attacking, which lasts for 1 minute and has a cooldown of 3 days. LV1, 0/10. Is the super god level self-explosion of the 5 fire demon leaders a fatal injury? Of course it is. It's still the kind of fatal injury that will blow you to ashes no matter how you resist. At this time, Yejing finally had a chance to release the breath he had been holding in his heart. After running away for a day, his anger was rising and almost reaching the ceiling. He just didn't have the chance before, otherwise he would probably fight the enemy to the death. He knew that no matter how the old professor and his men ran, they could not escape the fate of being blown into pieces. The only possibility of survival was that Yejing blocked them. Bear this damage alone. When he broke free from the old professor's armpit, his hands did not stop, and he grabbed the old professor and fixed him in place. Old professor. Classmate Yejing, don't give up hope. You are looking for death, don't pull us. The old professor said angrily, let go. Yejing shook his head, no. If you let go, you will die. The old professor was desperate, if you don't let go, we will die. The dazzling flames flashed from a distance, and in the blink of an eye, they rolled up the energy of destroying everything in front of him. It's over. These 2 words appeared in the old professor's mind, and he thought that if he had 1 more second, he would definitely kill Yejing to avenge himself first. Yejing did not explain much. Could he say, get out of the way, I'm going to show off? No. This is too uncivilized and does not fit his personality. He could only stop the old professor and others behind him, and release the spiritual energy in his body, which was only at the 2nd level of the transformation realm, and wrap it around them. I want to sacrifice myself for justice. No, I want to show off. No, it should be that I want to save you. That's right, this is Loki. Yejing did not see the shocked eyes of the crowd, and he could not see it, because the energy that was enough to blind everyone's eyes came in front of him and instantly enveloped everyone. Creatures are broken. All things are annihilated. If you receive fatal damage, the effect of War of Sorrow is triggered, and this damage is immune, and the strength is increased by 100%, the destructive power is increased by 100%, the speed is increased by 100%, and the attack is accompanied by a 30% blood-sucking effect, which lasts for 1 minute. Yejing did not hear the prompt sound, nor did he see the War of Sorrow buff that appeared in the status bar. At this moment, he had only one thought. It hurt so much. Yejing almost cried. He was not hurt at all and was intact, but he was hurt mentally. It hurts. Damn it. Why didn't anyone tell me to just resist the damage without eliminating the pain? Although his body was unscathed, he felt as if his whole body was crushed and shattered, with a heart-wrenching pain. The bones in his body seemed to be shattered, and then they were forced together again. Unable to breathe, his lungs were swollen and uncomfortable, he could not speak, and black smoke was coming out of his throat. This feeling is simply indescribable. After an unknown amount of time, 1 minute or 5 minutes, the energy generated by the self-explosion of the 5 leaders of the fire demon gradually disappeared, and everything returned to calm. Real calm. A big hole was torn in the Li Xingtian curtain. It is said that the Li Xingtian curtain can only be broken by extraordinary destructive power, which should meet the conditions. At the location where the fire demon exploded, the area within hundreds of meters was completely cleared, including humans, fire demons, branches, stones, sand, and everything else. Everything was annihilated. A huge deep pit was blasted out within hundreds of meters, forming a sharp contrast with the surrounding environment. There was a dead silence inside the deep pit, but it was full of life outside the deep pit, but of course it was not full of life. In the deep pit, the old professor and others looked around in confusion, at a loss. Old professor, not dead. Wang Hao, alive. Flower language, he he he. Quiet, zzzzzzz. They could see how destructive it was by looking at it with their eyes. It was surrounded by hundreds of meters of deep pits, and the 1 square meter under their feet stood out. Isn't this self-destruction an all-round attack? Why are we alone left out? At this time, Wang Hao said blankly, "Where is Yezheng?" This sentence gave them a huge hint, yes. Where is Yezheng? At that time, he was confident enough to stand in front of me. Why did he disappear after it was over? Could it be said that it was wiped out? Just as several people were looking around, a faint voice came from below. I'm here. Everyone looked down and saw Yezheng Zhen lying in the pit in a very strange posture, with his head down, buttocks up, his head tilted, motionless. Oh my God! Why are you like this? Wang Hao hurriedly slid down the pit and carried Yezheng up on his back. Yezheng said, "MMP, I don't want to talk anymore." It was fine, but because Shabai took a step forward, he slipped into the pit and ended up with his head down. It was so embarrassing. He was completely powerless and limp, and he collapsed on Wang Hao's back, and was carried up by him. As soon as he came up, he saw 3 pairs of bright eyes, looking at him intently. Yezheng's heart trembled. What's wrong? Why you took the lead, what's going on? Why aren't we dead? Yezheng pursed her lips. Are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin Ji Bayet. Chapter 37. Hua Yu and the others stared at him with a look of not giving up until he told them. In their eyes, this was already a foul. When could the self-explosion of the Destiny realm be stopped? Looking at the miserable situation around them, there was no grass growing in a radius of hundreds of meters, and there was no human habitation. All the people who existed were blown into powder, and they survived without any injury. If it weren't for the pain in their ears, they would have thought they were dreaming. Yezheng didn't have the energy to say more to them. He was so weak now, his whole body was sore, and it was even difficult to raise his hands. How could he have the energy to explain these things in a long-winded way? He just rolled his eyes and shook his head and ignored them. Others had nothing to say when they saw Yezheng's appearance. They looked at each other and looked helpless. The old professor said, "Okay, everyone has their own secrets. If he doesn't say it, there is no need to ask. Let's go back first." They, together with the deputy city lord of Changqiao, may be the last remaining people in Li Xingtian's tent. When the Li-Xing sky curtain was blown up by the 5th commander, the 2nd commander led his subordinates and rushed straight over, without any obstruction along the way, because almost all the people who stopped them were dead. Deputy City Lord Changqiao stood aside, watching the 2nd commander lead his men away from a distance. He alone could not stop the 2nd commander. He looked at the empty surroundings, which were extremely bleak, and a gloomy flashed in his eyes. All the people he brought before were dead, leaving only the old professor and 4 students who broke in. This is not the same as agreed. Deputy City Lord Changqiao put away the long sword, rubbed his frowning eyebrows, and had a headache. How should he explain to the city lord after returning? Sure enough, we can't underestimate the alien race, he sighed secretly. He originally cooperated with the fire demon just to eliminate Nangxing, one of the left and right arms of the city lord, but he didn't expect that the fire demon would do something in the end and destroy everyone. At this time, a red-haired man came out of the forest. If Ye Jingzhan saw him, he would definitely recognize him. This is the man who entered the forest with Deputy City Lord Changqiao before, and he was a little poisonous. The red-haired man had been hiding in the depths of the dense forest before. He came out after hearing the explosion that resounded through the sky. After seeing the tragic surroundings, he whistled, "What? Did the plan fail?" Deputy City Lord Chang Jiao shook his head, "No, and Nangxing is dead, but everyone else is dead too." The red-haired man smiled and said, "Why do you look like this? Anyway, the others were sent to Gukhan by King Li, so they die if they die." Deputy City Lord Chang Jiao said lightly, "After all, the fire demon did something to me, so I'm a little angry." The red-haired man patted Deputy City Lord Chang Jiao on the shoulder, "Then take revenge next time. After taking Gukhan, you will be qualified to ask the headquarters to send people to attack Tianhuo City." Both of them grew up in Gukhan, but they joined Changtian Group after graduation, and their current task is to bring Gukhan under Changtian's command for a few days. Although they were all from Gukhan, they didn't care who the city lord was. Deputy City Lord Chang Jiao nodded, glanced at the old professor, and asked, "The teacher didn't die this time, do you want to go and say hello?" "Forget it, I guess the old man has forgotten me." The red-haired man laughed and walked out of the hole in Lixingtianmu first. Deputy City Lord Chang Jiao didn't say much and followed him out. This mission failed, and a Lixingtianmu scroll, an Anon star with great future potential, a dozen underground palace realms, and hundreds of human transformation realms were lost. Gukhan was seriously injured. On the other hand, Tianhuo City only lost a fifth commander and a few minions. What awaits him is the reprimand of the city lord, and perhaps he will have to throw away some power and resources. However, everything is worth it. The second wave is about to start, right? Yes, Tianhuo City will not give Gukhan a break. Then let the old man die the second time, it's destiny after all. Well, first clear Gukhan's destiny, the rest is not a concern. It would be great if the city lord could transfer a group of men from Li Wang. Everything depends on human effort. When the red-haired man and the deputy city lord of Changjiao floated out of Lixingtianmu, Wang Hao, who was carrying Yejing on his back, saw the two figures in the distance and was stunned. "Why did you stop?" Yejing noticed the stopped steps and asked with a frown. Huayu and the old professor also turned to look at Wang Hao. "Nothing." Wang Hao hesitated for a moment, but still said, "I just saw the guide." Yejing was slightly stunned. "What guide?" Before Wang Hao could speak, Huayu opened her mouth. "When Wang Hao and Jing and I teamed up to enter the forest, we met a guide, and he pointed us in the direction." "What?" Yejing's heart was shocked. "The direction you are going was pointed out by others." Wang Hao looked at Yejing, who was a little shocked, and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "We have never been to the Nanjiao forest, so of course we have to rely on others to point the way." Yejing took a breath of cold air. He turned his head, looked at Huayu with a serious face, and asked again, "Let me ask it in another way, did someone point out the way to the deep forest for you?" Wang Hao and Huayu's face changed, and they looked at each other, and they saw a trace of disbelief in each other's eyes. They had never thought about this question before, and even threw it behind their minds. Now after Yejing asked this question, they recalled it, and their scalps tingled instantly. It seemed that the way they headed deep into the forest was pointed out by someone else. There are 4 directions in the entire forest. In addition to the direction they came in, there are 3 directions. Is this a coincidence? Just walk in any direction and end up deep in the forest? I don't care if I don't want to, I'll be frightened when I think about it. Wasn't this someone who deliberately guided them here? Yejing saw the change in the expressions of the two people, and his heart sank. It turned out that there was really a problem. He was already convinced that this was a conspiracy. The conspiracy against Anon Star. From the very beginning, it was not about besieging and killing the fire demon, but the leader of the fire demon tribe. The one being besieged and killed was Anansin from Gukhan. The fact that they are inside the Lycian canopy is not an accident at all. If they don't take the initiative to go in at that time, Someone will definitely come from behind and force them in. And Yejing, Wang Hao, and Hua Yu are all the additions, and only silence is the main meal. And the role of quietness is to attract Anongxing's attention. The more Yejing thought about it, the more he felt that he was right, and he directly stated his judgment. The person you just pointed out is a traitor who colluded with the fire demon to murder Anongxing. When Wang Hao heard this, his whole body trembled and he looked bitter, but he went out with the deputy city lord of Changqiao. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin Ji Bayet. Chapter 38. Wang Hao had a bitter face, but the man just now followed the deputy city lord out. He saw clearly, two figures, one of whom was the one who showed them the way, and the other was the deputy city lord of Changqiao. He was now panicking and scared, as if he had seen something he shouldn't have seen, and he told others about it. Did the deputy city lord of Changqiao know about this, or didn't he? Or, is the deputy city lord of Changqiao a traitor of the fire demon? Oh my goodness! Q. How can a secret be kept? A. Kill all those who know the secret. Can I still be saved? Yejing and Hua Yu were not fools, so they naturally knew what Wang Hao meant by the sentence. They were immediately horrified and quickly shut up, not daring to continue the discussion. However, they forgot that in addition to the three of them and the unconscious Anjing, there was another person. The old professor had a dull face. You mean, the deputy city lord is a traitor of the fire demon clan? He had never thought about it that way. He was a strong man at the peak of the destiny realm. That's the deputy city lord of Gukan. That's the elite of mankind. How could he be a lackey of the alien race? Wang Hao was about to say one more word when Yejing behind him covered his mouth. Yejing hurriedly denied, how is it possible? How could we suspect the deputy city lord? It's just a casual discussion, right Hua Yu? After that, he immediately gave Hua Yu a look. The two have known each other for many years, so they naturally know what he means. Following Yejing's words, he said, well, even if you suspect you, old professor, you can't suspect the deputy city lord. Wang Hao also reacted and nodded repeatedly. He didn't want to get involved. His life was more important. The old professor glanced at them. Although he was still a little confused, he didn't ask in detail. No matter what, he would not believe that the deputy city lord was a traitor of the alien race. After all, they were his former students. And they were the proudest ones. The old professor didn't know that his students were trying to kill him. More than an hour later, the truly magnificent sky appeared in their sight. After working so hard, they finally returned to the lonely city. The old professor carried Anongxing's body and said, I'm going to report to the city lord. Although I didn't do anything, at least I brought Anongxing's body back. The old professor lost his usual seriousness and was replaced by sadness. He and Anongxing had a good relationship. Although they were older, they had always been friends of the same generation. He also saw Anongxing become the pillar of the lonely city. But now, a pillar of the lonely city has died. Yejing and the other two watched the old professor go away and fell silent. The old professor's back was bent. He was old and tired. Soon, Hua Yu held Anjing in her arms and said, I'll take Anjing to the hospital first. She's not in a good condition now. The condition is not good at the beginning and end, which is very bad. After waking up, she may not be Anjing anymore. After Hua Yu finished speaking, she was about to leave, but she remembered something and said to Yejing, I'll take the 2 fire demon crystal cores to hand in the task tonight, and we'll divide the money after we go back. Yejing nodded. He also had a crystal core in his hand, which was enough to hand in the task. Only Wang Hao and Yejing were left. Wang Hao stretched lazily, feeling relaxed, as if all the fatigue in his body had been dispelled. He sighed, today is really a rich day. On this day, I don't know how many times I have been on the edge of death. It's even harder than playing Warframe. Yejing agreed, it's really a rich day. He felt the same way. This should be the richest day in his life. It was so rich that he didn't want to come again. Wang Hao looked at the city behind him and smiled, WQNMB, I will call you a turtle son next time I go to the south of the city. He vented his anger slightly and waved at Yejing, I'm going back to play Warframe, bye. Wait. Before Wang Hao took a few steps, Yejing stopped him. Wang Hao asked, is there anything else? Yejing smiled and said, do you still remember what you heard about the traitor in the city? The city lord whose cultivation was abolished and one leg was lame. Wang Hao may not remember it for a while, but he has always kept it in his heart. The appearance of the former city lord is so much like his father. If Wang Hao goes back to report it, wouldn't it be over? No. This matter must not be leaked. Even if it is a misunderstanding. When Wang Hao heard it, he remembered that there really was such a thing. After experiencing so many things, he really forgot it? How about we go and report it together? Just like we agreed before, you saved my life, and I'll give you a share of the credit, Wang Hao said generously. Haha, Yejing laughed, took 2 steps forward and put his arm around Wang Hao's shoulders, whispering, are you sure you want to report it? Wang Hao looked puzzled, what's wrong? Of course I have to report it. This is a great achievement. You have to live to spend a great achievement. Yejing looked at Wang Hao with contempt in his eyes, have you forgotten what happened today? What if the former city lord and the deputy city lord are in collusion? Then can you still walk out of the city lord's mansion? Wang Hao trembled all over and swallowed hard, not very likely. Yejing patted Wang Hao's chest, look, you don't believe it yourself. Let's not say it's absolute, let's say what if? Do you dare to bet? Wang Hao shook his head, no, no, how can the credit be as important as his own life? So. Yejing showed a satisfied smile and continued to deceive, even if there is such a person, if you are exposed, do you think you, a little ant at the first level of the transformation realm, can still survive? You happen to destroy their big plan. Do you think they will accidentally step on you to death? Wang Hao heard what Yejing said, and then thought about it, his face suddenly became bitter, and he grabbed Yejing, his eyes full of pleading, brother. Help me, can you just pretend you don't know about this matter? Yejing pretended to be distressed and said, it is a big crime to know and not report. If the fire demon really makes any big moves, we are the sinners. No, no, no. I am the sinner, I am the sinner, it has nothing to do with you, brother, just pretend you didn't hear about this matter, okay? Yejing sighed, hesitated for a moment, patted Wang Hao on the shoulder, and said with a smile, okay. I will keep this matter a secret for you, who makes us brothers? Yes. Who makes us brothers? Wang Hao changed his face instantly and said with a smile when he heard Yejing agreed. It's easy to handle. Yejing also smiled. It's easy to handle. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 39. After saying goodbye to Wang Hao, Yejing walked towards the Pioneer Guild. He had no injuries on his body, but he felt very tired. However, no matter how tired he was, he had to drag his body to the Pioneer Guild. After all, he had a fire demon crystal core in his hand, which was left by a fire demon he had hunted alone when he just entered the Nanjiao forest. The rest of the fire demons he hunted with Huayu were all in Huayu's hands. Would she not be hacked? Yejing couldn't help but worry a little. After all, Huayu was a creature like him. She would put all the good things in her arms, and if she couldn't put them in, she would carry them away. Was the spirit stone a good thing? Of course not. When he walked into the Pioneer Guild, the receptionist was not there, but a receptionist was replaced to deal with Yejing. He submitted his personal information and handed over the Fire Demon Crystal Core. Not long after, the receptionist submitted the task he had accepted and handed over a white card with a complete sun printed on the front and 9 planets engraved on the back. Receptionist, your mission has been confirmed to be completed. This is your Pioneer Identity Card, or Pioneer Certificate. All the missions you accept in the future can be viewed with this Pioneer Card, and the mission rewards will also be recorded in the Pioneer Card. I can withdraw the mission rewards in any city on Blue Star with the Pioneer Card. Yejing set his sights on the Pioneer Card. This is one of the necessary conditions for applying for the higher academy, and he has completed it. Name, Yejing. Affiliated city, Gukan. Level, D-level Pioneer. A very simple personal introduction, other things need to be checked at a fixed location. Yejing took the Pioneer Card and walked to the location indicated by the receptionist. It was a closed glass room, like an ATM. After he inserted the Pioneer Card into the machine, a translucent blue light swept his whole body from top to bottom. Gene confirmed as human in gene scan. Pupil confirmed as myself in pupil scan. Do you want to view information? Yes. The next second, the information Yejing wanted appeared on the machine screen. Name, Yejing. Affiliated city, Gukan. Pioneering level, D-level Pioneer. Number of tasks completed, 1 D-level task. Task success rate, 100%. Uncollected reward, 2,000 spirit stones. There is also a secondary details page above the number of completed tasks. Yejing clicked it to take a look. Tasks accepted, City Lord's summons. Task progress, completed. It's quite complete, Yejing exclaimed. The interface is clean and neat, and the information is complete and complete. It looks like it's real. Wait. What is this? Yejing frowned. At the bottom of the information, there was a picture flashing. It was a red, white, and black penguin picture, which gave him a great sense of déjà vu. At the bottom of the penguin picture, there were also these 2 lines of artistic fonts. The new version of the most popular virtual online game Warframe of Tengfei Group is officially launched. Who can compete with it in the Sea of Stars? Warframe provides a platform for the majority of pioneers to release pressure. Click to sign in the Pioneer Guild and you will have the opportunity to draw a gift package worth 9,999 spirit stones. The event will only last for 1 month. Don't miss it. Hee hee. Yejing's mouth twitched slightly. What a genius. Advertising is even put on the information table of the pioneers. Who came up with this idea? Yejing didn't know why he clicked on the flashing penguin picture. It was definitely not because of the 9,999 spirit stone gift package, definitely not. Click to sign in when scanning the QR code. He took out his mobile phone involuntarily and scanned it. Account login, account confirmation. ID, AOTN Warstar, level, Brilliant Scrap 31, do you want to sign in? Huh. Yejing took a deep breath and changed his name. He had to change his name no matter what. It was too shameful. Sign in. Sign in successfully, get 5 white mecha fragments, enter the game mailbox to receive. I know. Although he has not played Warframe yet, he has this part of the memory. Open the box of 10 spirit stones, and you can get 100 white mecha fragments at a time. Exit. Withdraw the card. Yejing turned and left the separate glass hall, walked to the task reward collection place, and after withdrawing the 2,000 spirit stones in the Pioneer card, he left the Pioneer Guild and did not accept the task again. After all, there is still some time before the exam of Gukan, so there is no need to rush for the Blue Star Unified exam. The requirements of the Magic City Academy he wants to apply for are still a realm and a D-level task, which is easy to say and can be completed at will. What makes him feel most stressed is the quota issue. Gukhan is so big, and the quota is so few, the competition must be fierce, and it will all depend on strength. After returning home, Dad was as unrestrained as ever, jumping up and down in the kitchen in a pink apron. Yejing was very tired looking at his father in this state. Could such a person be the former city lord? Could such a person be the city lord? If it was true, what could have happened to turn his father into such a horrible state? Back in his room, he lay directly on the bed without even taking off his clothes, feeling the warmth of the soft big bed, with a happy face. It was still comfortable at home. But I was so tired. I won't move anymore, I won't move again in this life. Yejing's arms were turned back, his head tilted, his eyes closed, like a dead salted fish. He thought that unless the sky fell and a rock hit his head, nothing could make him get up from the bed. Dad, it's time to eat. Today we have the big pig's trotters you love. Yejing, here it comes. This is what men love the most. Big pig's trotters. He jumped up from the bed in an instant, took off his dirty clothes in a second, changed into pajamas in a second, went out in a second, washed his hands in a second, and went to the table in a second. At the dinner table, Yejing drooled at the braised pig's trotters, and when his father came to the table, he grabbed them directly. It smells so good. At the dinner table, the father and son each held a big pig's trotter and gnawed them at a very fast speed. There were only 5 pig's trotters on the plate, which means that the one who eats faster can eat 3. Yejing, why did you burn 5 pig's trotters? Dad, do you think I don't want to be full? Prices are soaring now, and pig's trotters are 5 spirit stones each. I can't afford to eat them. Yejing, that's right. What era is this? It's good to be able to find pigs to eat. Then, after the two of them had divided the pig's trotters, Yejing spoke, didn't you go to see Aunt Hua today? Dad, no, Hua won't let me go to her all the time. Yejing, what about tomorrow? Dad, not tomorrow either. Yejing, did you tease Aunt Hua? Dad, no, I'm not a young man, I don't play with that stuff anymore. Yejing seemed to be very concerned about the situation of his father and Aunt Hua. He asked questions here and there, faster and faster, asking everything, except for a few times, he asked almost everything. Then. Yejing, Lord Yet. Dad, what? Rightward arrow, oh. Today I will start posting recommendations. Please support me. Thank you. Why are all of them passive skills? Author, Bulletin G. Bayet. Chapter 41. At this moment, the room was very quiet, without any sound. Yejing and his father stared at each other, as if time had stopped. Bite. A crisp sound resounded in the quiet room, immediately attracting the attention of the two of them. Looking at the sound, it turned out that the father had dropped his chopsticks. The father's face was stiff, he forced a smile, bent down to pick up the chopsticks, and stuffed them into his mouth without caring whether they were dirty or not. Eat vegetables, eat vegetables. Let me give you my last pork knuckle, since I am the father. Yejing looked at him with flat eyes, put the pork knuckle on his plate, and called out again, Master Yet. You just want me to shut up with just a pig's knuckle, you look down on me too much, don't you? At least a month's supply is required. When the father heard Yejing calling him that, his whole body trembled and his eyes wandered. What are you talking about? I don't know anyone with this name. Still want to quibble? Yejing slapped the table hard and sneered, now it has been spread all over the city that the former city lord is a cripple with completely useless cultivation. Tell me, how many cripples are there in the entire lonely city? After saying this, he patted the table again, feeling refreshed. I thought to myself that it was so comfortable to slap the table to teach others. No wonder the old professor and dad often banged the table. It turns out that it also has the function of releasing stress. Learned. When the father heard what Yejing said, his expression suddenly changed, and he asked with a trembling voice, "Are you sure?" "Even I know it, what do you think?" Yejing continued to scare his father, saying that he was going to trick his father out of his secret today. It didn't have to be too profound, just listen to it as a story. However, he underestimated his father's mobility. I saw my father put down the dishes and chopsticks in his hands, and rushed back to the room in the blink of an eye. His footsteps were so neat that there was no trace of the fact that he was a person with limited legs and feet. Then I heard a sputtering sound coming from the room. A few minutes later, the father walked out, his whole person changed drastically, leaving Yejing stunned. The big vest, big pants, and small sandals that Dad wore before are all gone. Now he is wearing a grey wrap coat, Highland boots, and a hat that can cover his face. He was still carrying a large suitcase in his hand. He lowered his head and ignored Yejing, and walked directly towards the door. Yejing's heart skipped a beat, it seemed like it was too much. He didn't take into account his father's current integrity. Unexpectedly, these words scared his father and ran away in a hurry. "Yejing, wait. What are you doing? Running away?" No, this is different from what you imagined. I just wanted to hear a tragic story to make me happy, but why did I just scare him away?" The father raised his head and rolled his eyes at Yejing. "Nonsense, it's been exposed anyway, why don't you run away? Wait for death." As soon as these words were spoken, it was tantamount to admitting that he was Gu Cheng, the deposed city lord more than 10 years ago. Once this was confirmed, Yejing couldn't let his father leave. If he wanted to leave, he had to at least finish telling the story. Yejing pressed the leather box in his father's hand and said with a smile, "Actually, the situation is not that serious, and I won't run away." "Oh." The father responded expressionlessly and pushed Yejing away. "I won't run away. I will take your Aunt Hua on a trip." Looking at his father who had opened the door, Yejing secretly gritted his teeth. There was no way he would fight with his father. This would be unfilial, but he didn't want his father to leave just like that. "It seems that I have no choice but to use that trick." Yejing suddenly shouted, "How did my mother die?" His mother was a taboo in this family and had not been mentioned for a long time. In his memory, he mentioned it once when he was 5 years old, and then his father pushed his head into the flush toilet and spanked her. From then on, he didn't dare to mention it. Now that his father had an affair, and his mother's influence gradually weakened, he dared to mention it. Sure enough, Dad's body froze in place. After a few seconds of silence, he turned around and sat back in the living room. "Why?" The father looked at the weeds that had grown vigorously. No, it was Yejing. He couldn't help but sigh, "You are already a big boy. If you want to know anything, just ask. Just waiting for your words." Yejing looked at his father's face and asked cautiously, "Did the current city lord destroy your cultivation? Was your leg broken by the current city lord?" This is something he has always wanted to know. When he didn't understand the situation before, he didn't dare to ask more. Now that the tip of the iceberg has been dug out, it's no longer up to him. The enemy is the current Lord Li of City. This is his suspicion and the biggest suspect. If it's true, then he's Dad's biggest enemy. And can he not avenge his father? Obviously not. This is his biological father who has raised him alone for 18 years. Dad gave him a strange look, as if he had something to say but couldn't. Yejing asked again with a gloomy face, "Did my mother die at that time?" Big hatred and big hatred. It is equal to the hatred of different people. Although he has no affection for the mother he has never met, he has the gift of giving birth. What is the name of the city, Lord? Never mind. Lord Li, I, Yejing, swear to kill you. The father looked at Yejing with a sad face, shook his head, and said nothing. Yejing was angry at this time. Dad, you don't have to be afraid of him. 30 years in the east. 30 years in the west. Don't bully the poor young. One day I will avenge you and my mother. Bang. The old man picked up a hard object at hand and smashed it on Yejing's head, and said with a black face, "What are you thinking about, you naughty kid?" Yejing, Isn't it? Yejing rubbed his slightly painful forehead and said with a wronged face, "Bullshit." When the child grows up, he finds his father's enemy and swears to avenge his father. Then he finds that he can't beat him, so he works hard to practice and kills his enemy 10 years later. This is a novel, not reality. How many times have I told you not to read those bad novels, but you just don't listen. Now you are so powerful. If I am gone, have you found yourself a deadly enemy who is a subordinate of King Li and a peak of the heavenly fate realm? The old man pointed at Yejing's nose and taught him a lesson. Yejing looked dazed. Guessed wrong? That shouldn't be the case. This should be the most logical. This is how it's written in novels. The whole family died, leaving only the protagonist. The enemy is very powerful, and the protagonist is very weak. Work hard to practice, and kill the enemy in half a year. After killing the young, the old one comes, and after killing the old one, the older one comes. This is the only way to force the protagonist to practice desperately. After hearing his father's scolding, Yejing's mind suddenly became active. If there were no enemies, could I be a salted fish? My goodness, 200 collections in 20 days after publishing the book, and doubled in 6 hours after being recommended, is it that powerful? Thank you all for your support. Please collect and recommend. At the request of the majority of book friends, those supporting characters will not appear, all replaced. Don't criticize.